Hello, Julie.
Hello, my friend. Good to be here today.
So good to see your shining face today.
Me too. I feel like it's been a long dry spell.
It has been an interesting time snafu that we kept coming up against the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
um, and at first I was getting hung up on, oh my gosh, we're not keeping our regular schedule. And then I decided, that's just kind of how time is unfolding lately,
That's life right now.
isn't it?
That is life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to be here with you today and with
You.
everybody who's joining us. So I'll tell you the origin of today's poem. I
Okay.
I was in my local women's circle, and we've been on Zoom lately. And there was a quote that our circle facilitator had included in our packet, and it dropped me right back into center. And it took me on a quest of, yeah, I need a poem to remind us or remind me of being present moment. So I thought, as a way to introduce the poet, I'd read you the quote first.
Ooh, okay.
So the quote is, well, actually, there's two quotes. I'm going to read both of them. One is, the only way to move through uncertainty, the only way to listen for what it has to say, is by being patient. The speech of uncertainty is slow. When we move too fast, the lessons are unintelligible.
Okay.
Yes. So, before I say who it is, and you might already know, I'm going to read you the second quote.
Read me the second one. I think I know.
When our mind, body, and heart are aligned, something eternal happens. When our mind, body, and heart move at the same pace, which requires slowing down, we know that congruence of being as the pace of what is real. Moving at the pace of what is real can move us through uncertainty and opens us to the shimmer of spirit and the energy of aliveness.
Oh, all right. So my first guess is Mark Nepo.
Yes.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. All right. Oh, I love his book of awakening.
Yes.
Oh, that
Yes.
actually is packed away in a box with a bunch of other books that are like my favorite books.
Yeah.
And yeah, it
Yes.
for probably 5 years it was my daily practice to open what the day's message was when I finished meditation, and I would read that
Yep.
message and hold that kind of in my how I wanted to step
Yes.
into my day.
Yes.
Nice.
So I think most people know Mark Nepo from the Book of Awakening. Um, but a little bit, in case you don't know, that he is a poet, philosopher, and a teacher. And he had been an English teacher, or an English professor, for 18 years at the State University of New York in Albany.
I did not know that.
And I had been curious because I know that there was a certain marking point in his life that he began to focus on the uncertainty in the present moment. But I wondered what he had done before that. So, knowing he was an English professor,
Mhm.
and then in his 30s, he was diagnosed with rare lymphoma cancer. And so he's plunged into a world of uncertainty.
Mhm.
So I was reading a little bit about that time and how this convergence of being an English professor and then a poet and philosopher came about. So, just in reading some about how he dealt with this, there is an interview where he talks about um, being living your soulful life in this earthly world, and
Mm.
that it's not one or the other. It's always finding that connection between these two. And how do you always listen to your soul in the uncertainty of the world? And so he talked about when he was going through treatments of when there were times he knew he was going to decline Western medicine and pursue something else. But then at a different stage of his treatment, he knew he needed to have Western medicine. And so being able to know sometimes it's this and sometimes it's that, but you always have to be able to listen to both, listen to the soul and listen to the earthly world at the same time. And that each situation will call upon you to act accordingly, but it's not always, I'm only going to listen to my soul, or I'm only going to listen to the earthly answers. It's and both.
Doesn't that make you wonder who in his childhood
Hmm.
taught him that? Because I don't think that comes to us unless we've had wise counsel at a tender age or
Right,
possibly a crossroad time in life. But yeah, I'd be curious to know if
right.
he had some like wonderful grandmother or mother
Somebody.
or teacher. Yeah.
I think I'm going to research that.
Is that listening to your soul's guidance? It's everything, and yet it's not something I'd say is championed in our culture.
Right, right. So I really love how he lives in this in between, and it's a place that I have found myself my whole life, and being in that gray area and having to tolerate when it went against the grain of the norm or what most people were doing. So being that in between, and it's always that combination of your soul self and your earthly self. And depending on the situation, that equation always looks different. And that willingness to say, well, I did it this way yesterday, but the equation's a little different today, so I'm going to do different today. And then how do you remain in this moment during uncertainty? And a lot of his poems and teachings are about remaining present moment during uncertainty. And I've been feeling so much uncertainty more than at any other time during the shutdown. I've been feeling really uncertain. So when that quote came through in my women's circle, it just grabbed hold and said, oh, uncertainty, present moment. The way we show up authentically in uncertainty is to be connected to the present moment. And he says, the way you show up, when you show up in the present moment, then you show up authentically in the next moment.
Mm, right.
I
It's like
can
I've
feel,
often heard that phrase to be in the world, but not of the world. It
yes,
reminds me of that energy and how do you in this moment be in the world, but also know who you are?
and know who you are.
Yeah.
Yes. So I went on my little rabbit hole trek to see where this would take me. And I came across a Mark Nepo poem called Understanding Leaves. And
Mm.
it is from his book, The Way Under the Way, The Place of True Meeting.
Mm. Great title.
Yeah. So, understanding leaves. The leaves do what we can't. They wait their whole lives. At first, they dream of air and wait to slip from wood. Then they dream of openness and wait to stretch in light. Then they dream of thirst and wait to soften in the rain. At last they dream of nothing and simply unfurl. Photosynthesis is how this waiting is described in the physical world. The mystery of waiting is what turns light into food. To wait beyond what we think can bear To wait beyond what we think we can bear is how things within turn sweet.
Mm.
To wait beyond what we think we can bear is how things within turn sweet.
Mm. That's beautiful.
I was first drawn because of our mutual love of trees and the
Mm.
secret life of trees, and how I feel like trees can teach us so much, and this waiting. But this last stanza, to wait beyond what we think we can bear, is how things within turn to sweet. So it brought me back to this uncertainty, but feeling like I can wait this out. I can wait it out and see what's there.
Yeah. Makes me think of the magic of trees that you can tap for their
Mm-hmm.
sap. And the magic, there's a sweet spot time for that to happen where the sugar has sort of maximized and you're going to get the maximum benefit of tapping the tree. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking, yeah, but aren't you draining the tree of all of its necessary sort of, juice to be able to survive and thrive and in the natural intelligence of a tree, it creates this abundance so that
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty to go
Plenty.
around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like trees are so unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a little kid in science class, the first time I heard that concept that we give off carbon dioxide and the trees give us oxygen. And like
Mm-hmm.
that was like the first kind of like realization. I was probably in third grade of understanding symbiosis, like understanding how, oh wow, we really need each other. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've told you this, but I have a brown thumb. I can't grow anything. And there
Hmm.
is something in the slowing down that I now have a container garden and
Uh-huh.
I'm growing things from seeds. Um, I'm also growing different mints, which I try and grow every year, and they don't last long. And I would say, oh, it must be the Texas heat, but it was me. And they're flourishing. But what I've been doing is every day I go and pick some leaves and put it in my tea or my water. And I never understood this idea that you have to pluck some of the leaves and create space for new
Mhm.
ones to come until this year when I've been, doing a deep bow to the mint leaves and the mint plants to say, thank you for providing this for me. And when I take what's offered, then it sprouts twice as many. So, And this waiting to see these seedlings, Julie. I go out every morning with Milo the dog, and before we can leave the porch, we have to stop and look at the plants and talk to the plants and waiting to see what is this going to look like? What will they grow into? I've never been able to wait for something to grow. I haven't. It's like, what is the point? I want to
Wow, so
see it
that is really a sweet spot to see that because you've had to slow down because of what's happening in just our environment that's causing us all to be, inward and staying home and staying put, you have nothing but time. And having
Mhm.
nothing but time can create a lot of stress and anxiety and impatience in people. I've seen that happening, which is interesting to sit back and kind of watch. Or
Mhm.
you can say, I I'm gonna appreciate my little plants and give it another go.
Give
See,
it another go.
and yeah, that's kind
And
of sweet to see.
in this time of uncertainty, I have time to see what will
Mhm.
happen. And I'm feeling this connection of me being able to slow down um, and wait. Then the plants are saying, oh, you've created space for us. And then I get really excited and happy, and then they grow more, and we have this thing going on between us that I've never experienced before. So, this to wait beyond what we think we can bear is how things within turn sweet. And I've been feeling this on the inside as well, this level of uncertainty, but feeling like I can wait this out. I can see what will be on the other side of this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, That's a beautiful message worth sharing, especially if anybody who's checking into what, we're doing with poetry is struggling right now.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, there is a fatigue that has set in, that we've been at this for a while, and depending on your personality and your kind of, you know, dosha, your different, type of personality and what is it, composition, or
Mm-hmm.
that it's more challenging for some people than others
Yeah.
to not be busy. But I also think that historically, being busy is how we distract ourselves from that sort of sweet spot of
Yes.
patience and seeing what's revealed and healing some stuff you didn't even know needed some healing.
So true.
And um, I know I have journaled more in the last 2 months than I probably did in the previous few years. I'd have a habit of starting off the new year with a new journal, and I'd go gangbusters for a while, and then life takes, kind of, and this is the first time I have written probably every single day
Mm-hmm.
for the year. Yeah. And many times, several times a day, as ideas kind of are planted in my mind when I'm out on a walk. I can't wait to get home and like get it down. I even will use my cell phone and I'll like send myself a message,
Me
so I don't
too.
forget it. Yeah, I feel like the creative kind of energy is really powerful right now because I have slowed down.
Right.
I am doing a lot of internal thinking and pondering and even reading stuff I wouldn't normally gravitate towards. It's all
Mm-hmm.
been rich soil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I have been. I used to think, oh, I live a relatively slow life. I like to be by myself and be thoughtful about things. And Sure, maybe, but in the slowing down, it has revealed that there are other parts of my life that have been inviting me to slow down as well. So it's been interesting to see these different parts of myself and my life that I wasn't tending to, um, and see what's there. So this whole being able to grow plants from seeds, it was in there all
Exactly.
along.
I love to the visual of you plucking your, your mint leaves every day, and first with your hot tea, and then as it gets warm in the afternoons in Texas, little do you
Hmm.
or is your tea pretty much green tea or whatever?
Right. I'm not a caffeine tea drinker, so it's right now I'm drinking this. It's got passion fruit and citrus and other things, and
Ooh,
so and
summertime
I've
exotic.
I've come up with this combo, Julie, of mint leaves, lemon balm, and basil leaves, and throwing that in a little tea bag and throwing it in water or this tea mixture. Yeah. So the slowing down has allowed access to other parts of myself that I just didn't think existed.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's where the sweetness is. I love that.
It's where the
That's where the
sweetness
sweetness.
is.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Those little surprises that we don't even know are waiting for us. But you
And
slow
they're
down
all
long enough, you get another angle on something, you see something from another perspective, and
right. Who knew?
who knew?
Who knew? The soul knew all along
Exactly.
and was just waiting for that opportunity to introduce me. Yeah.
Well,
All
thank you for
right.
sharing that one from Mark today.
Yes. Oh, that was a good one. So, understanding leaves from the book The Way Under the Way, The Place of True Meeting. All right. I'll throw the title in the links, as well as the poem itself. And I look
Okay.
forward to what finds you the next time we meet.
All right, I'm up next.
Yay! All
Fun.
right.
All
Have a
right.
super
Well, take
rest of
care.
the day.
You too, my friend.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.